Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, demcrumbliestech. Today I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be reviewing the Bulova Precisionist Chronograph watch. Now this is reference 98B316. Before I bought this watch, I looked at a lot of videos and I noticed most of the videos were for the other chronograph, which is with the yellow sweeping second hand. You can see here, this has a white sweeping second hand. So the yellow version, I'll just call it in the rest of the video, is reference 96B175. And that's what I saw most videos on. So I want to highlight this watch, which is, like I said, the 96B316. It has blue accents and the white sweeping second hand. So I'm not a watch expert. Let's get that out of the way first. However, I do really like Bulova's watches, and I think it's a brand that doesn't get a lot of recognition or appreciation. So I really wanted to highlight that. And, just if anyone's looking for a new watch, this is a brand that I would seriously consider for the technology that you get in there and, the price and the value. One of the biggest draws for me to this watch was that smooth, continual sweeping of the second hand, similar to what they had in the Bulova's original watches, which were the Accutron line. And if you know a bit about Bulova's history, when the Accutron first came out, it was the most accurate watch at that time. And, it did have that sweeping second hand. And I do have another Bulova watch, which is an Accutron. That kind of got me started. And I wanted to get something else that was a bit more rugged than the Accutron that I have. And when I saw this Precisionist watch, this pretty much sealed the deal for me. Okay, so just a quick bit of information before we get started. So Bulova's Accutron model of watches and Precisionist model of watches, they're known for their excellence in timekeeping and accuracy. Now, this is a quartz movement watch, and most quartz movements, they operate at a frequency of 32,768 Hertz. However, this Precisionist watch operates at a frequency of 262,000 kilohertz, which is 8 times more than a traditional quartz watch. So these are not in the same league as, any standard types of quartz watch you would buy. This difference in operating frequency is pretty significant, and that's what makes these watches some of the most accurate in the world. In fact, the first Accutron from Bulova was the most accurate watch in the world for a while, surpassing mechanical watches. Now, this particular watch is accurate to within 10 seconds per calendar year, which is really impressive. Most mechanical watches, at the high end, they're probably accurate to a couple of seconds every day. Now, this is for 10 seconds for an entire year. So it's significantly more accurate than most mechanical watches that you'll find. So both this model and the other yellow model that I referenced, which was reference 96B175, they typically go for 800 US, or the equivalent would be around 1,000 Canadian. However, they do go a bit lower when you find them on sale. Now, let's get it out of the way first. This is a huge watch. It's big, it's heavy, and those who value simplicity or, having that feeling that you're not really wearing something, this is definitely not the watch for you if those are the things you value. Now, getting into the measurements, the case diameter on this watch is 46.5 millimeters wide. Now, if you take into account from the crown to the side of the watch, then it's more like 49 millimeters wide. From lug to lug, it's about 53 millimeters, and the actual thickness of the watch is 17.5 millimeters. So this is quite a thick watch. In terms of the weight of this watch, I believe when it ships with all of the links, it's about 262 grams heavy. My watch currently is 251 grams, and that's because I've removed 3 of the links that it came with. My wrist, the width of my wrist, is 55 millimeters wide. So to accommodate the watch for, a comfortable fit, I had to remove 3 of the links. And again, like I said, that leaves it at around 251 grams, which is pretty heavy if you don't like wearing heavy watches. Thankfully, that doesn't bother me, and I like the feeling of wearing a heavy watch, so this is great for me. Now, looking at the front of the watch, one of the things you first notice are these large hex screws, and there's 4 of them, 1 in each corner, and these are removable actually. Although I haven't tried, I have seen images of it removed. Looking at the actual front of the watch now, so this is a curved mineral crystal. Unfortunately, it's not sapphire, so just keep that in mind. Now, one thing to note about this glass is due to the curvature, let's see if I can show that to you. So due to the curvature of this glass, depending on the angle that you're looking at, it could be, well, it is going to be impossible to tell the time if it's angled too much. And that's one common complaint that I saw mentioned by people who own this watch. So you do have to have the watch facing directly at your face, or pretty much directly, to be able to read the time. Now, I do really like the curved glass, so it's not something that bothers me, but if you're expecting to read it from every single angle, just keep that in mind. Looking at the exterior of this watch, it's an all stainless steel design, and you can see that the color tone here is a two-tone color. So you have the stainless steel here, and this part up here is darker. Maybe you can call it kind of like a gunmetal, whereas when you look at the yellow version or the 96B 175 reference is just all uniform in terms of the color. Now, looking at the side of the watch, you can see that the main housing here, you have this brushed metal, which is really, really well done. And above that, let's see if I can grab focus here, you have this top part which houses the glass that has really nice and detailed knurling on it. One of the areas where I think Bulova did a great job is on the watch band. So you can see here, it's a very well made watch band. Take my word for it, it's quite heavy, it feels very robust. I know I'm not going to have any issues with this watch band, but there's a lot of detail that went into this watch band. You can see here, if I give you a side profile, that the watch links, they don't just sit flat, and there is some separation. So you can see here that the very top is this polished metal here, and then it leads into this brushed metal at the bottom, and that just keeps cascading down to the end here. Now, another detail is this line, this divot here that goes right through all of the watch links. So it's very well made. The sides are beautifully polished as well, as you can see. So it's a really well made watch band, really solid, and it feels really good when you're wearing it. It's not uncomfortable, and so far I haven't had any pinched hairs or anything like that. Looking at the clasp on this watch, so you have a double press fold over clasp with a safety lock as well. There is also a diver's extension right there if you need it. So when it comes to changing the batteries or getting service on this watch, it's a screw back style, and at the back of the watch you can see there's the Precisionist logo there, and you have the Bulova logo up there as well. Looking at the crown of the watch, you can see that it has these ridges here which make it easy to grip the crown, to loosen it or tighten it. There's also a Bulova logo at the side of the crown. So on this reference model, you can see that the sweeping second hand is white, and then you have that Precisionist logo at the opposite end of the sweeping second hand. As well, the two hands up here to tell 1/10 of a second and 1/100th of a second, those are two separate indicator hands. One is blue and then one is white. On the other watch, which is the yellow model, the 96B 175, the sweeping second hand would be yellow, and those two indicator hands would be yellow and white. Another design feature to take note of is the hour hand and the minute hand. So they have this skeleton design which lets you read the text or the information under them. And this is something that has not bothered me. I've been able to tell the time easily. However, online I have noticed some users, they've mentioned that this skeleton design makes it more difficult for them to read the time. Now, while this watch is great in many respects, one of the downfalls of this watch is the power of the lume. I've noticed that even on a bright day, when I go into a darker environment, the lume is really, really weak. So I would say if you're often in dark situations or dark environments, that this lume is not going to deliver for you. And if that's a big factor, you're probably going to be disappointed with this watch. One really nice thing about the face of this watch is all of the dials are symmetrical, so it looks really nice. And I also like the font style chosen for the text. It's very easy to read at a glance. There is also, if you can see here, a nice looking perlage on this side here, which then leads into the carbon fiber back dial. And there's also the date feature, which is located between 4 and 5. And when you rotate the watch, you can see from the carbon fiber, it gives off kind of like a little sheen. It looks really nice. Same with that perlage. If you look at the indicators for the hours from 12, 1, 2, 3, you can see that they're varying in terms of the length of them, and that's to accommodate for the difference in the dial diameters. Each indicator is a polished steel with a lume applied to the top, but like I mentioned again, I would not count too heavily on this lume. So one of the differences between this watch and the other version, which is with the yellow sweeping hand, the reference 96B 175, is that this watch, it shows the operating frequency here, which is the 262,000 kilohertz that I mentioned earlier. On the other watch with the yellow sweeping hand, that text is not there. However, it does show 300 meters water resistance on both watches. Looking at the dials on this watch, so this upper dial here lets you measure in the 1/10 of a second and 1/100th of a second. And like I said, there's two separate hands. There's a blue indicator hand and a white indicator hand. It's hard to tell, but those are stacked on each other. And the right dial shows the hours for the chronograph, the left dial shows the minutes for the chronograph, and this bottom dial shows 1/1000th of a second. So in terms of the button functions, this button at the bottom left here is the mode button, and this puts the watch into chronograph mode. So you can see once I press that, the sweeping second hand is going to go all the way to 12, and once it's at 12, that means you're ready to use the chronograph mode. So just keep that in mind that anytime you're going to use that function, you do have to wait for that second hand to go into the 12th position. Now, one really cool thing about this watch is that the watch will maintain internal timing so that when you're done with the chronograph feature, it's going to pick back up where it should be. So you're not going to lose any time, which again goes to, just the accuracy that's put into these watches. Now I'm going to demonstrate how that works. So with the mode button selected, putting the second hand at 12, we know we're in the chronograph mode. The next button we're going to press is this one at the top right here, which is the start. Now, if you look here, I'm going to see if I can get you focused. What's going to happen when we press that is that these indicator hands in the dial to measure 1/10 and 1/100th of a second, they're going to start spinning. So let's do that. Now, it may be hard to tell, but there's actually two indicator hands up above there that are spinning. And those will spin up until 30 seconds. Once it hits 30 seconds, they stop spinning. Now, they don't stop keeping track of how much time has elapsed, but I believe they do stop spinning maybe to save battery, or maybe there's a limitation with the watch keeping track of that, plus that internal timing I was mentioning. So you can see at 30 seconds, they've completely stopped. So let's just say, for example, we finished our timing and I'm gonna stop the chronograph here. You can see that now the two indicator hands have actually gone to the correct reading. So while they have stopped spinning, they are now showing us the final time. So you would read from here how many hours, minutes elapsed, 1/10 of a second, 1/100th of a second, and down at the bottom here, at the dial above 6, that blue hand shows 1/1000th of a second. Now, to reset everything, you would just hit this button here, and it's going to put the second hand back into 12. Now when you're done with this mode, all you have to do is to press the mode button again, and you're going to go back into the regular timekeeping. So let's just pay attention what happens when I hit this to exit. You're going to see the second hand sweep until it catches back up with where it should be. So from where we started chronograph, it won't go there. It's going to go to what the real time should be. So let's take a look at that. There, you can see almost around 20 seconds, it just started that continual sweep again. So it's a nice, fluid, smooth motion. It's really a joy to use that function on this watch. So now that I've explained how the chronograph feature works, I just want to show a demonstration again really quickly. So pay attention to the second hand, and we're going to stop it at 25 seconds. So I'm going to press the mode button right here at 25 seconds, and that's going to put us into chronograph mode. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick reading. So let's just say we're timing something and it was just 5 seconds. So let's stop it at 5 seconds. Now, when we exit chronograph mode here, we did stop with the sweeping second hand at 25. So let's exit and you'll see where the sweeping second hand stops. There you go. So because it's maintaining that internal timing, you're not going to lose a second when you exit out of chronograph mode. Now, I also have a Bulova Accutron 2 surveyor, which is reference 96B213, and you can see it has that nice continuous sweeping motion too. So I'm just going to put it side by side so that we can see if there's a difference in the sweep movement. And I've looked at both of these and I can't tell if there's a difference. Maybe you can, but I do think, for this being an older watch, the sweep looks just as good as on the Precisionist line. I think a lot of people sleep on this brand, or it flies under their radar. It's not something I hear a lot of people talking about, and it's not a brand that I see that often. So, making this video, I really just wanted to highlight and shine some light on this brand. And if you're looking for a new watch, I really think you can do well with anything from Bulova's Accutron line or the Bulova Precisionist line. Like I said, they're very good. They excel in accuracy. You're only going to lose 10 seconds a year with this range, whereas, like I said, high-end mechanical watches, you could be losing seconds per day. You add that up and easily you're looking at a minute within a month. So this is a really great watch to start with if you're looking to get into Bulova or even high accuracy quartz watches. If you have any questions or if I missed anything about the watch, let me know down below in the comments. I'm also super interested in hearing about your experiences with Bulova watches. Like I said, I've just kind of started collecting, so this is only my second Bulova watch. So I'd really be interested in hearing from those of you who own this watch, or other Precisionist watches, or just really any Bulova watch in general, what your experiences were like, longevity, battery life, things like that. Just comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Goodbye.